That would mean we don't need some. But there's some upstairs. Yeah. I got 1 minute. We have a chair here, right? Yeah. There's one chair up here. You never know. All right, so I'm getting started.
There's a good mic right there.
All right. I promised we would get this off the ground at 6:30, so it's about 6:30, so we're going to get it started. I'm Siobhan Travers. I'm a program coordinator here at the Joslin Memorial Library. And I will tell you that 2 years ago, on this same weekend, we did the 110th celebration of the Joslin Memorial Library. And some of you were here. And it was very interesting because people did different vignettes and you had to follow different storylines around. Well, I was at a St. Patrick's Day party a few months ago, and somebody that was at that party said, "Oh, are you going to do something like that again? That was so much fun." And I said, "Okay, maybe. Will you be in it?" So you're going to have to guess who asked that question. It's one of our many Sarahs. And the other thing is, we didn't really talk about Sarah Joslin 2 years ago. We talked all about George, but Sarah's our co-founder. And Sarah lived 24 more years than he did. So this is also my way of honoring Sarah, because I forgot her 2 years ago. This will probably take about an hour, and there are stories of Sarah, and we have 6 different Sarahs. And Linda Radke and Ernie Drown, correct?
Yes.
We'll be doing music in between the different stories. And when the stories are over, then all the food is upstairs, where her portrait is, that sometimes people never even notice when they come in. And this time you will notice her portrait. If you need a restroom, there is a big person restroom right out this door to the right. There's a wee toilet next to it, but it's a little tough to get up from. And I believe that's it. We're ready to go.
Ukulele. There's a charm that's thine alone, binding me with mystic spell. There's a sweetness in thy tone that the tongue can never tell. There's a witching light that gleams in thine eyes of azure blue. Let me live beneath their beams, Ululu, Ululu. Dost thou ever think of me when the night winds gently moan and the sound is born to thee, when thou'rt silent and alone. Dost thou know the heart that kneels at thy shrine so pure and true, or the anguish which it feels? I am told there is given to the angels beauty rare, but I often doubt that heaven can excel thy beauty there. I am thine in heart and soul, yes, my heart is pure and true, though it be not known to you. Assis au bord des flots, au courant fugitif, il adressa ses mots. Au courant fugitif, il adressa ses mots. Si tu vois mon pays malheureux, si tu vois mon pays malheureux, va dire à mes amis que je me souviens d'eux. Va dire à mes amis je me souviens d'eux. Merci. Now there is Sarah Joslin, telling us about her life from 1851 to 1883. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Joslyn. But maybe, since you live around here, you might know me as Sarah Selleck. That's who I was growing up here in the valley. My parents were James and Callista Selleck, and they raised me and my 4 siblings in Fayston. I was born in 1851 and lived here for the first 20 years of my life until I was 21 and I married George and became Sarah Joslyn. Now, I knew George from living in the valley, but he's also my half-first cousin, so we share a grandfather and have different grandmothers. George was living up in Montreal, working at his uncle's paper shirt collar factory. A paper shirt collar was a detachable collar, so you could put a nice clean collar on a shirt without having to launder the whole thing. And sometimes on really hot days, men would take a couple extra collars with them, so when they sweat one out, you could switch it out. Anyway, after we got married, I moved up to Montreal to live with George, and as happens with newlyweds, we were soon pregnant, and I gave birth to our son, Clifton Howard Joslin. We would have loved to see him grow up, but he was only with us for 2 short months before passing away. We stayed in Montreal for the next 6 years and then moved for George's new job to Des Moines, Iowa. That was about 1879, but it was a short stint with George working at the Iowa Printing Company. By the spring of 1880, we'd moved to Omaha, Nebraska for George to be the manager at the Omaha Newspaper Union. Now, it was a ready-print newspaper, so that meant that the national and international news were printed on the inside pages, and the outside pages came blank for the local newspapers to print the local news and their own advertisements and then ship them out. Now, when we moved to Omaha, we were still of meager living. For the first 3 years, we just lived in a room above the newspaper.
Medley of temperance songs for the next Sarah. Everybody find a seat. I came to the State House to discuss the curses of rum and a tarnal fuss. They made alcohol staining ours, and they sang a long tune, and this was the chorus. Hail Columbia, happy land. Hail Columbia, happy land. For I will drink cold water if I see fit to do it. But when I want it hotter, I'll add some ginger to it. Oh, come resign your ruby wine, ye smiling sons and daughters. For there's nothing so good for the youthful blood as the pure and the sparkling waters. So leave your brandy, rum, and porter, sign the pledge and drink cold water. Clear the track, clear the track, clear the track of rum and porter. Sign the pledge and drink cold water. Oh, that will be joyful, joyful, joyful. Oh, that will be joyful when young men drink no more. Oh, come on, join me. Amen. And one more from that period.
Water?
Ginger. If the men should see the women going to the polls to put down the liquor traffic, need it vex their souls. If we're angels, as they call us, can we once suppose that all the men will frown on us when going to the polls? We love our boys, our household joys. We love our girls as well. The love is from above. Against that we ne'er rebel. No discharge, we Christian women, from the war with sin. At the polls with Gog and Magog must our charge begin. Since we Bible marching orders need it fright our souls, though all the men will frown on us when going to the polls. We love our boys, our household joys. We love our girls as well. The love is from above. Against that we ne'er rebel. And now let's hear about Sarah Joslin's life during that period, 1883 to 1893. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Joslin. I live in Omaha, Nebraska, and the publishing business, the newspaper business, is going so well, and so we have decided to diversify a little bit, and we have bought 2 hotels in Omaha, the St. Charles and the Metropolitan. And the Metropolitan is a short stay, or a longer stay hotel, and the St. Charles is a short stay hotel, and we've lived in both. And we've lived in the Metropolitan now for about 5 years, and I'm in charge of the hotel, the restaurant, and the reputation is excellent because of all of my excellent cooking and my New England sense of home comfort. We have a lot of friends from the Valley who have come to stay with us and visit with us, and we've made a lot of friends in Omaha as well. One of our new friends is an architect named John McDonald. He was supposedly stopping through on his way to California, but we have convinced him that he should stay in Omaha. And so he is staying. He's opened his own architecture firm, and we're very happy to have him as a friend. But now, with the hotel doing so well and the printing doing so well, I have a little bit of free time on my hands, and so I think I should get involved in some charitable work. And so I've gotten involved with a lot of things. I'm the founder of the Board of Charities for Omaha, and we're focused primarily on 3 things. The first is treatment for those who are suffering from addiction. The second is improving the condition for prisoners, and the third is for children. And speaking of addiction, I'm clearly a proponent of temperance,
Yay.
part of the temperance union. It's very important, and I hope you will all join as well. And then and of course I've also been involved in the suffrage movement. So I'm part of the Nebraska Women's Suffrage Organization, and in 1888 I traveled to Washington, D.C. as part of the International Conference to learn a lot about how we can help the international movement as well as the local movements, and get a lot of information from each other and help the rights of women going forward. And that's where I am today.
The rag picker's child. The winds of winter howled with glee as through the sweet reeds they swept, heeding not the shivering form of the little one that slept. Bitter was that winter night, the storm grew fierce and wild, all alone and turned out of doors was the poor rag picker's child. Hark how the winds do blow, the night is cold and wild, all alone turned out of doors was the poor rag picker's child. Father or mother had he none, alas, they both were dead. Left alone in this dreary world, no place to lay his head. Shunned by all, despised was he, left where the blast blew wild. No wonder what that homeless one, that poor rag picker's child. Hark how the winds do blow, the night was cold and wild, all alone turned out of doors was the poor rag picker's child. Men tell us 'tis fit for wives to submit to their husbands submissively, weakly, and whatever they say, their wives should obey, unquestioning, stupidly, meekly. Our husbands would force us their own dictum take, without ever wherefore or why for it. But I don't, and I can't, and I won't, and I shan't. No, I will speak my mind if I die for it. For we know it's all fudge to say man is the best judge of what should be and shouldn't, and so on. That woman should bow, nor attempt to say how she considers that matters should go on. I never yet gave up myself such a slave, however my husband might try for it. But I can't, and I won't, and I shan't, and I don't, but I will speak my mind if I die for it. And you ladies, I hope, who've with husbands to cope with the rights of the sex will not trifle. We all, if we choose our tongues but to use, can all opposition soon stifle. Let man, if he will, then bid us be still and silent. A price he'll pay high for it. For we won't, and we can't, and we don't, and we shan't. Let us all speak our mind if we die for it. And Sarah, now in Omaha, we'll hear from Sarah from 1893 to the year of 900. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello. My husband George has done so well with the Western Newspaper Union that we've been able to move from the hotels. We bought a really nice house right in town, and we also bought a house in Saratoga Springs, Saratoga Lake. Of course, we learned about the horse treatments too, so we acquired a couple of thoroughbred horses and have fun with that. We train them quite a bit, or they train us sometimes. And since then, we've also purchased a piece of property in town, 5.5 acres, and we're going to build a house there. But first, we have to get the grounds landscaped. We've been very interested in exotic trees, shrubs, and the orchids. We love orchids, so we make quite a few trips to collect orchids. So we've engaged two very prominent landscape architects to do the grounds. We have underground pipes to supply water to these exotic plants that we're bringing in. We have to have a conservatory, which I think is a glass house, so that the plants, can survive. We also have a couple of ponds that are going to be built. One is for swimming. And let's see what else about that. Underground pipes. And it's going to take a while. So then after we get that done, we'll have the house built. And Donaldson will do that. So once we got the grounds done, we have opened up a fundraising party for the Visiting Nurses Association. We had to put great big sailcloths around the property so that the guests who didn't pay didn't sort of sneak in and see what was going on. We had the place lit up with little lights all over. We had a Russian tea house because an associate contributed that, so you could go have tea. We had a fortune teller, so you can find out what we're going to do in the next year or two. If you wanted cheese sandwiches and milk, you'd go to a dairy bar. There was a candy place too. There was lots of things to do. A lot of the young men rented bathing suits so they could swim in our swimming pool. Let's see, what else did we have? Oh, the 22nd Infantry Band came, and a lot of the men sang and the young people sang. So it was very festive. So we raised a lot of money, which was very good. And you knew that I did some volunteer work, primarily for the Children's Life Institute. So I donated $25,000. George did very well this past couple of years. For the building of a new building. I frequently go and spend time there with the children, rocking the babies. And then I do invite some of the older children over to our place for picnics. But the best thing was, we were able to find a little 5-year-old girl, Violet, who came to our family. So suddenly we have a daughter. So I'm very happy about that. So that's it. Goodbye. I hope you get your pizza next time I have a party.
That was great.
100 years hence, what a change will be made in politics, morals, religion, and trade. In statesmen who wrangle or ride on the fence, these things will be altered 100 years hence. Our laws then will be uncompulsory rules, our prisons converted to national schools. The pleasure of sinning, it's all a pretense, and so we will find it 100 years hence. Oppression and war will be heard of no more, nor the blood of the slave leave its print on our shore. Conventions will then be a useless expense, for we'll all go free suffrage 100 years hence. Instead of speech making to satisfy wrong, all will join this glad chorus to sing freedom song. And if the millennium is not a pretense, we'll all be good neighbors 100 years hence. This will happen when we giving the ballot to the mothers. Bring the good old bugle boy, we'll sing another song. Sing it with a spirit that will start the cause along. Sing it as we ought to sing it, cheerfully and strong. Giving the ballot to the mothers. Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, our spirits shall be free. So we sing this chorus from the mountains to the sea, giving the ballot to the mothers. Bring the dear old banner, boys, and fling it to the wind. Mothers, wives, and daughters, let it shelter and defend. Equal rights our motto is, we're loyal to the end. Giving the ballot to the mothers. Hurrah, hurrah, we'll bring the jubilee. Join me. Hurrah, hurrah, our spirits shall be free. So we'll sing this chorus from the mountains to the sea, giving the ballot to the mothers. One more time. Hurrah, hurrah, we'll bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, our spirits shall be free. So we'll sing this chorus from the mountains to the sea, giving the ballot to the mothers. Votes for women, yay! And now we've reached the 1900s. So 1898 now, we have Sarah with her orchids telling us about 1898 to right before World War I, 1916.
Yeah. These last
Sad piano's coming up.
16 years have been amazing. George was promoted to president of the Western Newspaper Union, and with that came a kind of prosperity I never dreamed of. Can you imagine Sarah from Spaceland living in a castle? Dear friend John McDonnell designed a duplicate, or not exactly, but our version of Balmoral, the Scottish castle. And we are just so thrilled. This is what we've been working on. It's known colloquially as the Joslin Castle, but we call it Lyndhurst. I digress a little here, though. It's been so wonderful for us. And I've made many, many trips to New York looking for rare orchids, still a real passion for us. And in addition, I've had more time to devote to my volunteer activities. I'm proud to say that we created the first settlement house of Omaha, and in modeling after Jane Addams' home that she created in Chicago. We work really hard to teach the immigrants what they need to know to be good citizens. And in addition, providing them with recreation, education, and learning English. In addition, George and I learned that the founder of the Old People's Home was on her deathbed and didn't have enough money to promote her vision of creating new quarters for the aged. And so George and I stepped up and donated and made sure that her dream came true. But much to my pleasure, I'm happy to say that we agreed to fund the construction of the Joslin Memorial Library in Waitsfield, Vermont. Of course, the provision was that it would be dedicated to our grandfather, our mutual grandfather, Joslin. You remember, we're half cousins. And it's just been such a delight. Now, thinking about our house, the castle is not, it took 19 months for us to complete. Now, we started first with the carriage house, and I must say that was a wonderful, really opportunity for parties. And we served supper in the box stalls, decorated with hundreds of flowers. You know, our passion for flowers. John really knows us and was able to create a place for us to be. So we continue to have parties and to entertain, but finally to the house. 19 months under construction. And with strikes, labor strikes, and then the costs going up, and George was going through the roof. He didn't want to spend the money this way, but we managed to persevere. 19,000 square feet. We had a gym, and we had a bowling alley, and we also had a special place for the dogs to go, our beloved St. Bernards. And they could come in, mud on their feet, and no worries, they could come in and wash in that room. It just was exquisite, and with our gardens and the conservatory, my favorite room was the breakfast room, the morning room we called it, and it had this special flower display window that we just loved looking at. Well, then Easter, 1913, a disastrous tornado blew through Omaha, and it injuring and killing hundreds, displacing thousands. Fortunately, we didn't have any casualties at Lyndhurst. However, we lost the conservatory and all of the extensive gardening and landscaping that we had done. I decided that I would donate the orchids to the city of Omaha. George went through the roof. He said, "That's it, we're done." He didn't feel very well either. He was starting to wane in health, and he said, "We're moving. We'll move to California." But John McDonald and I managed to convince him that we needed to reconstruct the parts of the house that had been damaged. A highlight was that by October, we were able to see our lovely Violet and her young man, John McGowan, David McGowan, married and starting their lives. So we were thrilled, and George and I gifted them a house, which they returned to in Omaha when they came back from their honeymoon.
Speaking of weddings, of all the songs that have been sung within the states and nation, there's none that comes so near the heart as Uncle Sam's relation. Yankee Doodle is his name, U.S. his honored station. Red and white and starry blue, his garb on each occasion. When Uncle Sam set up his house, he welcomed every brother, but in the haste of his new life, he quite forgot his mother. Now his house is up in arms, a house housewife, he was find him to sweep and dust and set to right the tangles all around him. Now we're here, dear Uncle Sam, to help you in your trouble. And the first thing best to do is making you a double. Yankee Doodle will be glad to join with us in spreading the news about all the land of Uncle Sam's great wedding. And this is called New America. Our country new now from thee, claim we our liberty in freedom's name. Guarding homes, altar fires, daughters of patriot sires, their zeal our own inspires, justice to claim. Sons, will you no longer see mothers on bended knee for justice pray? Rise now in manhood's might, with great souls unite, to speed the dawning light of freedom's day. And now we've reached the war years, and we have Sarah to come up and talk about what was going on at that point when World War I broke out.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody again. I've gotten a fair amount older. I'm 65 now, and it's 1916. And George, we've been talking about George, he's getting on in years, he's 68. We're staying home a lot more these days. His health, as we've said, is just not doing well, and I swear it's those darn cigars he's been smoking, because he has a stroke in March of 1916. He's in bed for 7 more months, and then in October, George Joslin passes away. 42 years we were married. So as you can imagine, the winter was hard and dark, and it was not until spring that things changed so dramatically on the world stage with the war, the Great War, and my mind became focused elsewhere. And as you know, the men in the area, all across the country, joined the war, leaving women and children behind to do the work. Farming was in my blood, but most of the farming I'd been doing was the orchids, and the orchids were not doing so well, or they'd been gone elsewhere. But I did contribute some of the castle grounds to the growing of potatoes. We received some instruction from the university, the women's universities on farming, and soon we got quite good at doing all the work that had been done previously by men. And we intentionally brought attention to this, for instance, through the donation of the castle grounds for the potatoes was made in the name of the suffragist movement in Omaha and nationally, because we felt we were demonstrating our competence in all facets of life, and that we really deserved the vote. And that was our most sincere hope. I volunteered a lot with the Red Cross and opened the castle to the game room for soldiers that came back for entertainment, did transportation for soldiers, the bonds for raising funds for the war effort was something that I was spearheading. And when I heard about what was happening across the world in Syria, the death marches, the Armenians being forced to walk across the deserts, I was outraged, so many of us were, and I became involved with the American Committee for Armenian and Syrian relief. So that's pretty much the types of things that we were doing during the war. And it was over before too long, in 1918 or so, it was over, and I did continue to be supportive of our brave soldiers returning home injured, and also there was something else, and I can't remember what it was. So that's what.
Passage of the 19th Amendment. The suffrage flag. This is a sing-along here too. There is a band of women, and to our manor born, emerging from the darkness past and looking toward the morn. Their mothers labored, waited through a night without a star. The morning showed the suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. Hurrah, hurrah, for equal rights, hurrah, hurrah, for the suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. This band of all reforming, war shall be at an end. Bayonets and swords shall rust, we'll use the blade and the pen. Laden with precious freight now, thunders the progress car. The headlight waves our suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. Hurrah, hurrah, for equal rights, hurrah, hurrah, for the suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. Hurrah, hurrah, for equal rights, hurrah, hurrah, for the suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. One more time. Hurrah, hurrah, for equal rights, hurrah, hurrah, for the suffrage flag that bears the woman's star. And Sarah actually lived until 1940, so let's hear about the rest of her life.
I decided to build a memorial in honor of George, to keep his values going and his love of the arts. So I formed the Society for Liberal Arts, and this group, we met at Lyndhurst, was to raise the funds and do the planning and run the organization. John McDonald and his son, they were to design the building and also oversee the construction. I sold my controlling interest in the Western Newspaper Union for $5 million. That was a difficult decision, but a necessary one. When the construction was over, it came to about $3 million. The memorial opened on November 29, 1931, and 25,000 people came to the opening. I stood in line with everyone to go in, and even though I was invited to stand on the dais, I chose to sit among the people. You see, one of my goals was that the art should be available to all our citizens. Omaha is where we earned our wealth, and that's the city to which we wanted to give back. And I wanted the men in overalls to feel just as comfortable as the social elite when they came to our building. You know, I'm getting older now, and so I spend more time at home and at the memorial. Oh, my favorite place is the reception room with the stained glass windows. We're in a time of depression now, and I'm getting so many requests for help. And, well, some of them are unkind. As a matter of fact, one man tried to extort me, and I had to get the authorities involved, and it turned out there were a group of people. Anyway, they were arrested, but I felt bad for the families. in my 80s now, I spend more time with friends and with family. Well, I did get an honorary degree from the University of Omaha, and I'm on the board of the Humane Society. I care very much about the dogs, about children, well, about all people in our community. As a matter of fact, every morning I wake up and I ask myself these questions. Does everyone have shelter? Do they have a home? Do they have clothes on their back? Shoes on their feet? Food to eat? And how do they nurture their spirits?
So, as we mentioned, Sarah passed away in 1940. There was a small service held with family and close friends at Lyndhurst Castle. Sarah left $3.2 million. Much of it went to charities, the V&A. Some went to the Joslin Library, including some of her favorite books, but for the life of me, I can't find them anywhere. She left funds for her daughter, Violet. And after learning more about Violet, Violet went on to have children, who then went on to have children. And those children of today, when I talk to the Joslin Castle program director, he tells me they have no clue that their ancestors ever had that kind of money. They worked in a furniture store in Pennsylvania. You know, many of those families, when Omaha really got off the ground, there's no memory of them now in Omaha. But Sarah and George, there is a memory of them. And while Sarah put the Joslin name on the outside of the building in honor of her husband, inside, it's all about Sarah. It's all about her love of the arts, her love of music. There's a gigantic auditorium where musicians play. There are lectures. And they keep adding on. There are more and more renovations to bring more people in, and it's all free for anyone to come. That's our story of a farm girl from Facein, a very small town farm girl who made her way to the Midwest and touched the lives through her spirit and her soul of so many people that was then passed down. So what we want you to do now, after we sing the last song, is upstairs there are refreshments courtesy of the Pitcher Inn. And there are some non-alcoholic drinks. And for those of you who haven't noticed her portrait up there, you can also take a look.
Sarah, take a bow too.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
This is one very short song that I hope you know, certainly children here know it. It's our state song, These Green Mountains.